Hi Raj.
Hi, good morning. I
Morning.
think it will be evening or night for you, I think.
It's a 7:30. I'm in PST.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you got access for the recording?
Access.
I mean for the video
Yeah, I
recordings.
do. I do.
Okay.
I do. But Raj, the recording screen was not clear.
Okay, the videos is it? Which one? Which video it was?
I think I got one. I opened one of them.
Okay.
Maybe.
Let me check that then.
Mm.
I think the recording means the
No,
screen.
I'm just checking that is it from my problem or is it everybody else also has the same problem?
Okay. Let me check that then. I'll also have a look at
Okay.
from my no issues.
Can you said there is some material?
Yes, you can access. I'll just upload it. No issues. If you have the link, na, just request for access.
Okay.
You have that link?
I'll check.
Ah, fine. Okay. No problem. Hi team, good morning. Let me share my screen.
Good morning.
I'm sharing my screen. Let me know if it is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay.
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah, okay, fine. So yesterday we were seeing some tools for troubleshooting, right? So we'll just continue on that. Then we can start our model pool programming after that. Okay. So what we'll just see what all I have discussed yesterday. Let me open. These are the T codes we tried. Debugging, yes. Dump analysis, yes. Performance tuning, yes. Okay. So apart from all this, some things which will be useful for you is there is something called version management. Okay, that is a separate topic. So this version management is applicable for any object. So let you take a report, data dictionary, anything, function module. What is this versioning is? Suppose I create a program today. Um, so what I'll do is I have put C. It is applicable only for my transportable objects. For local objects, this versioning is not applicable. Why? Because this versioning comes into picture only when there are different changes in my code. So what I mean by that is, suppose I create a program today, I have released it for transport. Okay, so my code is sitting in quality. So tomorrow I just do some other changes, maybe some other file lines I'm adding. So now I want to see what was my previous code. So if you are doing the change, that should be fine. But just a use case, we will see many people will be doing code changes on the same program. So we'll want to see what is the change you have done. So we can see that in my version. Just a minute. Some request. Okay. We can see that in version management. So I'll just go for display. This is applicable for any object like program, database object, or my data dictionary. Everything will have version. So the path is utilities. We'll go to versions. Okay. So generally the version management will be it will automatically create a version when you release the transport. That is one case. If you want to separately create a version, you can just click on generate version. Okay. And this third option you will be useful. It will be useful when I tell you. Suppose you are in middle of some changes. Okay. So I did some changes. So there are so many changes here. Okay. It is still it's active. So what I'll do is I'll just did some changes. Okay. Maybe some if I sub rc equal to 0 and I get some syntax errors, or maybe you just want to revert my changes. See if you see some syntax errors are there. Okay. So what I can do is if I just go to versions, return to my active version, see it will go back to the what is the latest active version is there. Okay. But here one thing you should be very careful is whatever change, suppose one or two lines you have written and you would go to this active version, that should be fine. But in case you have written maybe so many lines of code, if you click on this active return to active version, it will wipe off all your changes. So it will ask, the inactive version will be deleted, means this complete code what you have written newly will be out actually. If you yes, it will go back to my active status. So see my what maybe one or two lines what I have written is vanished. That is one purpose of this. Then if I go to my version management, so this is a new program, so you will see only one version of it. Let me open that. Give me 2 minutes. Before it loads, we'll just have a look at another one. See in any SAP code, okay, in SAP system, maybe I'll just open the mass window. See in any SAP code, there are only 2 to 3 options, okay. In if I want to change my code, so it is either okay. So it's too big. So one is my SAP standard code. Also, how we can identify is not even code actually, SAP standard object I'll say. Okay, so anything without a Z name, so that is what see to identify it easily whether you can check whether the name is starting with Z or not. Okay, so with this we can identify whether it's an SAP standard object or not. So we'll second one is custom objects. These are the major categories in my SAP system. Okay, now see there is no third category, but still you want to modify some SAP standard codes. Okay, then for that we'll have, suppose there is a standard code, in that maybe some modifications you want to do. Now generally what people will do, suppose if there are reports like that, they'll just copy that standard program into a custom code, they'll just start modifying it. That is one way, very common way they'll do it. Or there is something called enhancement framework. Sorry, enhancement framework. So here we have multiple options, like we can enhance code or data dictionary objects, DDIC objects, okay, or any function modules, anything you can modify. So there is set of pre-listed places where we can do the enhancements. You have something called baddies, business add-ins, okay. So these are some ways of enhancing the standard code. Now there will be some requirements for uh, not requirement I should say. So you have some issue, you got some issue for troubleshooting, okay. So now you are debugging the code. In debugging you found out some standard code is the having the issue. See, standard code is nothing but the code owned by SAP, okay, nothing else. Someone like us, a developer only will write that code. So there are bugs in that, so that is always acceptable. So what we can do is, there is something called OSS support. This we will get have credentials in your projects actually. So every team will have a SAP account. Any software installation with SAP will have an SAP OSS account, okay. So online support services it is. So what they will do is, so it's like a normal support ticket, like customer care center, where you can say, boss, this program, this is the issue we are facing, please analyze and fix it. So now it is part of some software component it will come. So maybe you are on some certain release. So if I take an example, ECC maybe, or HANA ECC 6 you are in. So they will have something called yes note. This is also a transaction. Okay. So for our side, to see whether my SAP standard correction is happening or not, this is my code. Yes, sorry. Yes, note. So it's like actually the thing is SAP notes. What is this note is? I'll just show you one note maybe. So if you go to the transaction slash o s naught, it will say it's a numeric value where it, they look something like this. So you will have a number and the description for it. So if you can just double click on that, it will open up a screen like this. So saying the SAP note number, what it is, what is the version, what is the implementation status, what is the processing status. So for us, these two are very important when as a developer. So identifying this, okay, we can go to that this S node transaction based on the description. We can just identify it. Suppose I know the description or my number. Maybe I'll say integrate MRS with PCMS, for example. So if I just go and you can just find it here, you can just find, it will navigate here. So for this navigation, maybe the system should already have that note downloaded. Okay, if it is not downloaded, it will say bus there is no note. Maybe I'll take another example simply to just put it one. So no matching entry found. So you know that this is a SAP note and you don't have it in the system, means you can request SAP to send that note to your system. So there is a procedure for that. There is a button called download SAP note. So it looks like something like this. So if you click on this you can download that note into the system. So for that there are some connections required. So I should be a valid customer for SAP. I have to pay some maintenance license. Those are licensing issues. Okay. Then we have download latest version. So if you like, you already have, suppose you saw the version right here. There is something called versions. So maybe this version 2 I was in. Then version 3 would have been released after I downloaded. So I can just go here and just click on this download latest versions for this particular nodes. Whatever are downloaded already, the latest versions will be downloaded. No new different tickets, no new nodes will be downloaded. Then if you want to see there is something called node browser. So this one SAP node browser. Just click this, you can give the node number. 302 was the node number. And you can see what is the status of this. Okay, so it says this will show. So status is new, implement status is cannot be implemented. So what is this status come from is based on your support packages. See in the software level, let me show you one screen maybe. Last time I showed you that system status. If you go to my SAP system data, so this is the component version. So this is a generic text. Okay. So there are multiple installations on this, like different components we'll have. Like for basis, ABAP, PI, like this we'll have so many components. So this is the highest support. So what are the support packages? Suppose now I have some SAP nodes, 10, 15 nodes. They'll completely club that nodes into a single support package, like maintenance packages. So you raised one issue, some other customer would have raised some other issues. So totally, if they have a cutoff like around 50 SAP nodes have come up. So what they'll do is they'll club all the SAP nodes. The SAP node is nothing but the standard SAP correction. Which so if you do it in your own system, it is a custom correction. In SAP side, it is a standard correction. So if that's a standard correction, what will happen is they'll just club it and they'll put it in the support package. So based on this software component and release, this validity will be shown. Where is that? This implementation status, whether you can implement or not. If your system is on above this support packages, it will say you cannot implement. I have opened that note. Okay, the note looks something like this. So what is the number? What is the version? If you are processing, your username will come up here. This is a PDF version. So how I came here is, I'll show that. So if I just, this is a SAP browser, a node browser. So it should open up a PDF here. In normal client systems, it will be displayed here. That PDF will come here. As this is a demo system, will not have many services available. Okay. So what are the corrections? Okay. So now note log will have the status of my the note in my system. So it says on so and so date I have downloaded it. Maybe if you would have tried implementing it, it will say, boss, you tried to implement. Then corrections. If you come here, so this will show what are the corrections I am doing. So this is at the end, either above any object on my system will be corrected. So here it will say report source code is being corrected. So just navigate it. It will show the delta like change to the source. So this is an example. Okay, it's not the used case scenario. So it will say this code will be inserted and this code will be deleted. Context means so in which place. So if you go to this form, this is the context means after these three lines, these two lines will be inserted, this line will be deleted. So it is actually a part of a correction instruction. So in SAP systems, actually we do that. I mean, I myself create those because I work for clients, different clients. So in that process, we'll create new two things. One is SAP note and correction instructions. Correction instruction is nothing but was in SAP code what all you want to change. So each correction will be captured in a correction instruction, and all those correction instructions will be clubbed into one note. So note is my for outsiders, note is my main number. So in that we'll have correction instructions. So for this particular note, it says first these are the correction instructions. It will be implemented. So if you implement this note, this code changes will be reflected in your system. Now in SAP Note we have something called a manual activity. So if the developer feels like okay before doing this change, manually you may have to add some structures, all those things. So correction instructions have some limitations like data. I mean DDIC objects sometimes it will not have access to update. So at that time what they will do is like okay you can do this manually. That will come as part of manual steps. Then after performing the steps, if you try to execute, it will get executed or implemented. At that point of time, a pop-up will come saying, boss, there are some manual activities in this, have you implemented? Please confirm. So that is the process actually. So this is how we will try to modify an standard SAP code using S notes. So the only transaction you will be using here is S note. This is my client system actually. So that is the transaction. S note is the main one. So let me go back to my this is how it looks, the SAP note. So it is a symptom. What is the issue? So if you can search when you are searching, it these terms will be considered. So if you search for DB02, this note number will come up. This is for search terms. Then solution apply correction instruction means you have to implement this note to do that. So if there are any manual activities, there will be separate heading here saying manual activities. So there is something called SAP Node Browser. When you have access to your customer systems, you will have access to those transactions because they are licensed transactions actually. So coming back to my version management, so this is how my version look. So here I have only one version. So it is showing only one version. So let me pick up some program which has multiple versions so that we can see whether it is not a used case actually. Because this demo system will not find much versions. Let me find out if we have any. Hmm, no, nothing. Very small. Okay. Editor object ability display program. To release the transport, then we'll see if I get anything. object is inactive. What is that? Screen. So if you have any objects in transport, it will throw error like that. So let me see what are my inactive objects. I have one inactive object, so let me activate it. So now it is out of my inactive objects. Let me see if I can release my transport. Okay, it's released. So now I'll try to modify my program. Maybe add another two lines or comment lines. I'll add comment lines. I'll just add some 5 lines. It will create a new object. Okay. I think the whole transport I'll have to release. Let me see. The open transport is there. Okay, so here I don't have any open transports, but task, but my main transport is open. So it will automatically ask for creation of a task. A new task will be created. So I'll create a new task and maybe I'll remove these comment lines. I'll activate it. So the only change I have done is I've activated, released one task, then I have just played around with the comments. Nothing else I have done. So let me see. I have another transport here. So actually the UI should look a bit more comfortable. These are some navigation. So because some catch issue, this is not coming up actually. When you go to customer system, this 4 or 5 will not be that. It's an expansion. It's a plus and minus actually. Now I'll see my versions if I have any versions. Now this is a main transport. So that is the reason I am not seeing any versions. Okay. Let's release it. So I'm releasing the transport. Let's see if I want to just take it up again. So we'll see. I'll create another transport and that should show me a version actually. So this is a generic way how we'll release. Task generally developers release, but main transport it will be part of some process, either the basis people or any third party systems integrations it will have it. So my transport is released. Okay, so I'll just create another transport. So I created new transport now. Okay, so I'll add some code, maybe comment lines. So that transport we released, right? So it will ask for a new transport. If already a transport is assigned and there are no tasks, then it will ask for a new task. Now completely there is no transport at all. So for the first time we need to assign it again. Do not transport. I'll just assign it. I'll activate. Okay. Now We'll see if I have multiple versions. Yes. So now I have two versions in this. So this version is part of my previous transport and this one is my active. So on top will always be my active version. Okay. Now what all options we have now is, so suppose if I already have a, suppose already my code is in production or maybe quality. Now we can compare the code with either my remote system as well as my previous versions. Okay. So this is my checkbox on my active system. I want to do a remote comparison. I'll click this remote comparison. So this will say, boss, which system you want to compare with. So currently there is no connection. So it will say, if suppose quality or development, production or other development clients, everything you can do it. Target system, or if there is a RFC destination also, you can do it. So there are these many RFC destinations. Okay, the prerequisite is my code should be already available in this RFC destination. So currently we don't have anything. So if you give the production system or quality system and click on this, it will just show in a comparison. How the comparison looks, I'll show it now. So now I'll compare these two versions. So what it will do is, I'll just select any two versions I can select. If I try to compare with only one, it will say, boss, you select two. You compare two versions only with each other. So I'll just select the other one. This is the button for compare. Okay. So this is a single and parallel column. So here you cannot understand properly. So I'll go to parallel columns. So this is my latest one. Okay. And this is the first version. So this is the active version. So you can read it here. So what is my difference between my old version and new version is the comment length. This is the data I added here. So with this color highlighting, you can understand what was not there on right side and what is there newly. Suppose I added some lines, that is how it's showing. So if I remove some lines, my blue color will be on this side and my white color will hide these comment lines. So this is a very simple example of my version comparison. Now what I can do is, it will just show, you have some user settings here. So how you want to display, what you want to highlight, what you don't want to highlight. So this is just a user setting. Now if I go to next identical sections and differences, we can just navigate. So it will say identical section, what is similar, it will go to my next difference actually. So I'll just go back. Now because I have only 4-5 lines, it looks very easy. But if you just see big words now, then you can easily understand how you can compare. So it will also say if lines are not changed now, it will just say, because these are 93 lines omitted because they are unchanged. So if they get any lines which are changed, so at my line 100 there is a change. So 5 lines or 6 lines before that and 5 lines or 6 lines after that it will show. If you see, so it's here the threshold is 3 maybe. That's why it's showing 1, 2, 3 lines before my start of change and 1, 2, 3 lines after my start of change. I mean these three, 101, 102 and 103. Then it will say no lines changed. So it will see last 3. So my system threshold is 3 lines. That is just for display purpose, nothing to much worry on the settings actually. So this is how we can compare two codes, two versions actually. So you can, there is also option to compare two programs. I think it is C39. Let me check that first. Yeah, you can compare two programs. Suppose you want to see, but okay, what are maybe the purpose? Okay, you want to just compare two programs. This is the transaction SC39. I don't, and till in my experience now, I haven't seen that used case actually. Just for knowledge purpose, you can use this, or you want to just compare two programs and see how they are behaving or what is the difference. You can just see that comparing two programs. So it will already ask on the left side what is the what is the program you want to see, and the right side what program you want to see. This is applicable for three things of the codes. One is my program, function module, and class. So I need three codes. We can compare anything with anything. So on the right side, what I'll do is we have some function module. We created that. I'll try to compare this z demo star. This one I created. So I'll compare these two. Display. So now on the right side and left side, see we'll just get both the codes in a split screen editor. That's it. So the split screen settings, you can still go to my settings, ABAP editor. So split screen, you can say how you want to have the window arrangement and comparison options. These are user settings on the user level, not a common setting. Now we'll have split screen. Left side you can see, and right side you can see the second program. So any code I want to compare, I'll just have a look left and right. So this is just a code comparison. Here it will just compare again. If you click this, it will show what is same and what is not same. See, these are the symbols. So it's a bus, everything is different. If you see a green color here, it is similar actually. So what I'll now do is I'll just show the same program again, just to see how that comparison looks. Okay. So I'm opening the same program. This is the button to see the comparison. Comparison on. Okay. So programs are identical. So it will not show anything. Suppose maybe one or two lines are similar, then it will show a green button against that line. So this is how we can compare two programs. So this is on my SC39. There is an option called compare different systems as well. So what here you can do is you can give the RFC destination. So in my version management I saw, right? So that version management is only on top of that particular program. Now you want to compare two programs from two different systems. You can give program one. The left side will be always default my own system, and the right side you can check which RFC destination you want to connect and different program. So that is a difference between my version management and SC39. So there you can compare only one program, different systems, different connections like production system, development, quality, all those, and the RFC destination. But here you can compare different programs. So now if this is not there, so I'll just take an example and see. Just RFC destination means there are something yesterday we spoke about that, right? As we a function module can be remotely called. So to call that remotely, there is something called system connection. Two systems should be connected. So that is basically done by basis team. So if you want to just observe or you want to see how they are, we'll just have a look at that. The transaction code for that is SM5922. Okay, SM means like standard maintenance, SER standard editors. So SM59. Sorry, let this be slash n SM. Sorry, 59. So this is a transaction. This is for configuration of RFC connections. I'll just write that configuration of RFC. RFC is remote function calls. RFC connections. So if you want to connect two SAP systems, then it will be done here. Okay. So these are the different types of connections. So this is the connection type ABAP connections, HTTP. So this depends on how you want to connect between two systems. So if you are having connection between two SAP systems, this is how it look like. So system name CLNT is a standard naming convention. This is the RFC connection name. The logical system is system CLNT and client number. So randomly I'll just, so for us it will be most importantly the ABAP connections. There are so many other connections where the different services will be called. So for example, one particular service, maybe I can just simply say mm, graphical DRP network. So this is on the used case scenario.
Raj,
Yes.
What is a direct call means? Let's say sales order created from a web portal, and somebody is saying that that will be drop into SAP system through a direct call. What does that mean?
Okay, see, from a third party system, there are multiple ways you can create a sales order. Okay, now there are the different integration technologies. Okay, so if suppose my sales order, I mean my web portal is based on a .NET base. Okay, let's assume that. So I can connect my non-SAP system with the SAP system using this way, the remote function connection. So if there is a proper connection in SAP system, we'll have BAPIs for sales order create, change, all those. Let me show you one of those. SE37. Okay, maximum number. Let's close this. Okay, so BAPI sales create. This should have a BAPI actually. Let me sales order create. Okay, so create from data. This is the most commonly used function module. BAPI actually. So this is in my SAP system. So if a third party system should call this, there should be a valid connection between my SAP system as well as my third party system, and that should be maintained here. So for them it is a remote call. They are calling my SAP code from their system. So I think yesterday I have put in that. Maybe just have a look at that video. You can just come back to me if you have any clarifications on that. So I just given a small example how my RFC is working. Okay. So
Okay.
this is the prerequisite for that. It should have a connection between my SAP system and the particular system which is trying to access my BAPI. Okay. Now coming back to this, we can see we generally won't have authorization, but still you can create a connection if you have a proper authorization. So I have SAP all in this because it's a demo system. So this is how RFC destination looks. This is how we can create it here. So this is the destination. So it's like what is the destination system? So generally it will be my system number, CLNT, and the client name. I can give whatever descriptions I have. There are some local TCP/IP connections. I'll just show where we are facing some issues. Okay, so this is my graphical screen painter connection, RFC connection. So this connection is to access my SAP system should access some files in my local folder. So that is the expectation. So here this is the file. So you can just either edit it. So it will some parameters would be there. So activation type, how should it start? Okay, so some default gateway. These are some settings, RFC settings. So here this is the administration. This is like how who created, what is changed. Okay. Then log on and security. Suppose you want to give it as a secure. Suppose this is a local. So this is connection from my SAP system to my local system. So though no user ID passwords are required. But in my used case scenario, what will happen is it will ask to send a ticket like with the user ID and password. It will just ask. Then you should enable this secure protocol and give the authorization, or else it will ask for user ID and password, and you can just connect test it. So let me pick any ABAP connection. Maybe I'll try if this is existing. Load balancing, no. Okay, see, in logon and security, logon procedure would be like, yeah, it has a user ID and password. So password status, they can just set it, or if they give current user, whatever user you have logged on, that will be taken as a default. Okay, so here you can just do two things: either remote logon to check your credentials, so it will give the status user password invalid. Okay, so otherwise you can just do a connection test. So connection error, there is some error. Okay, so this is how if it is fine, it will give us saying successful logged in. So that is how you can test a connection. This will not have any systems actually. That is the reason you will see ERP backend, load balancing, log one security. Okay, no user at all. It will not accept anyways. Hmm. though no valid gateway is open. So that is how you can see whether the connection is existing or not. That's about my connection. So now coming back to okay RFC. This also we have discussed version comparison. Okay. So one more thing, what feature we have in version comparison is suppose some 6-7 versions are there. This is your active version. Maybe you want to go back to my first version. So what we can do is you can just retrieve the code. If you just click retrieve now, it will create an inactive version with my old code. So in my new code, if you remember, I have that comment section. I have put some 5 or 6 comments. So now those will be removed. So it will go back to my old one. Let's wait for the system. Okay, now there is a modified version saying, okay, this is copied from my local one. So I'll just go back to my modified version, just double click. So there will be inactive version created. See, my 5 lines of comments are removed, means my old version has come back. Now, maybe you can again go to utilities in edit mode, sorry. If you want to just activate it, you can activate it. Now my requirement is no bus. I just want to go back to my old code only. So return to active version. So it will say my inactive version will be deleted. That's fine. So see my comment length. This is the change I have done. Now if I go to my versions again, you will say only active version. That modif version will vanish out. So you try, this comes up because you try to copy a version. So there is a version 2 which is created. Either you go back to the active version, means the previous active version, but the not same version. So now 1 2 it will just keep on creating. My latest number will be on the highest number. So if there are 15 versions, version 15 is the latest and my version 1 is my oldest. So that will be in the descending order. So I think this will be the parts of my version management. So similarly we have same on every object. Okay, either you take a data dictionary, the navigation is same, no change in my navigation. Demo star, let me see, maybe couple of objects I'll pick and I'll just show display utilities versions. This is for every object irrespective of whatever you take it in a SAP. See, this is the object, so it is a which request it is part and it will just show which is the active version. So this is for my table. So if I take a function module, sorry, even for a program, everything you will have it. Z star or G demo star. I'll take this display. The same path, utilities, version management. So see, this is my version because I have released that TR and I have not I'm not having any active TR, so it shows this TR place is blank transport because previously it was part of my this transport. I released this, but I haven't put any new transport on saved it into any new transport. So if this is blank means we have to understand that currently there is no active TR which has this object in place. That is how it reflects. Now I think these are the basic things. Now let me see if I have missed something. So that should be fine with my version managements. So these are some common features like version management and where use list both. You can just see where this program is being used. Similarly, how we can do it for my database tables or my DDIC data dictionary objects. Fine. So let's move on to our next one. Let me Okay, so now we'll move on to a topic called module pool programming. Okay, So module pool programming is nothing but it is a set of my SAP reports linked to a screen. Okay, so whatever screen you see on my system is a module pool program. Okay, so any randomly I'll take some screen, maybe SC38. Okay, this itself is a module pool programming which has a combination of buttons and radio buttons. Okay, these are buttons, these are radio buttons. So this is the input field. Okay, so how you can identify what program and what screen it is? You have to go to system status. Okay, let's open. So in this SAP repository data, okay, so we'll find what is the transaction, what is the program, what is the screen number. Screen number is my this particular screen has a number. What is the GUI program and what is the GUI status? These are the basic things. So before going to that, I'll just tell what is a transaction code. Okay, a transaction code is what you enter in my what you say this command area to trigger some set of codes. Okay, there we have different codes. You can put it into transaction. What are those? We'll see. So this is a transaction code. We can give any number. I mean alphanumeric. If you are doing it in the custom system, you should give a with YY or ZZ. Let me create one transaction. So for the same program, what I created, sorry, the wrong system. Z demo abap. What program we created? SC38. This is a report. So for this one, I'll try to create a transaction. Okay. So same I can put. I'll just click on create. So the transaction code will have 5 options. I'll tell you what are those. This is a short text which will appear on my title bar. Now how you see this maintain transaction, same text. So this is a, I just put this is a demo transaction. Okay. Now start object means what is the triggering point for this transaction? As I said earlier, right? So transaction code is a triggering point for a set of code. So how you want to call it, you can use it. A program with screen dialog transaction. This is what I was telling module pool. Okay. Then a program and selection screen. So this my current program had a selection screen previously, not now. We had a material number, right? That is selection screen. So this is purely based on what kind of program you want to call, and this is completely based on your requirement. So there are some T codes directly where they'll say, okay, for this report you create a transaction. Reports directly will not give it authorization to a functional guy who will try to execute it. We'll put, there is something called security and authorization where all these transactions are given authorizations. Okay, so that is a separate topic. I mean, it's part of GRC. Okay, that is like security and authorization. That is a separate module in SAP. So what they'll do is they'll create customer profiles. So the main thing in the customer profile is, okay boss, what are transactions and what are data a user is to be authorized. Suppose a sales guy will have sales transaction authorization, then material side guy, finance side. So they'll group these transactions. That is the purpose why they'll ask us to create a transaction for any object. Then you will create and you will give this box, this is the transaction. They will add it in the user profile. That is actually not created by us, but still I'll just show you how, if I have authorization here. So for example, if you are facing any issues with authorizations of any transaction, okay, suppose I'll say, okay, I have SAP, I'll not get that issue actually. Suppose, but let's take an example, like some transaction you tried, it says you are not authorized. Then you should go to transaction called SU53, standard user. Okay, so that is SU53. So it will say, here it will show, I'll just write down the transaction. So the implementation project, this is a very common T code you will come across, SU53. Okay, so it's like display authorization. If some fails are there, you can go and see the display authorizations. Okay, so what the security team will ask is, give me a screenshot of SU53 transaction. So here it will say, okay, what all objects were not authorized, will give a list. Based on that, they will understand what roles you should be given and what user profiles you should be assigned. So there is a transaction called SAP user standard user 01. Okay, this is for display. So for this SU01 is for user creation in systems. You can create a user. This is a demo system, so I'll have access to all my transactions. So you can just create, and this is the place where you can create and delete users. Even the basis guys or GRC guys will create using this, or a mass transaction, a custom mass transaction. Sometimes you can just see if the user is logged. You can unlock this here and change my password. So this is my basic user settings. So here my user is user 400. Okay, I'll try to display it. So this will have all my address data, logon data, single sign-on. Essence is single sign-on. So this system doesn't have that actually defaults. So what is my default start menu? Start menu means in the initial state there are some favorite items. This is a user settings, user side customizing. What is the date format you want to see, time format, output device. So these are user settings. Now coming to this parameters and roles. Sorry, parameters will be your system parameters again. So this is default. Roles and profiles is what you will have. So profile is my SAP system profile where my GRC team creates. So this is a super user. Okay, means SAP all and SAP new will have all user access, but it's not the same in my used case. So it will say okay, but they have Z custom standard in any roles they can have. So here suppose you want to check from your side what is there and what is not there. In my so in my SU53, it will show only the authorization success or failure for what all transactions you executed. Suppose I executed SE38. Okay, so if I have access for this SE38 or don't have, it will just show the what you say that authorization check for that particular transaction. Okay, you have, yes, you have, you are successfully validated. So how it should. So if I want to see what all authorizations I have, you can come here and see. There will be some there are so many. Z and standard both will be there. So this is how my user profile works. So they create it generally SU24, I guess. So in my custom, sometimes you will have requirements to check for authorization objects in my code. Okay, I think this is a wrong one. Maintain authorization default values. Okay, so in code you will just write. I'll just show that syntax where it has gone. Change authority check object. This is the syntax. So it will say just click F1 on this. There are two parts. What is the authorization object and what activity it's allowed. So when you do previously in reports they used to put in this. Now maybe because of authorization objects are more clearer, they'll try to put this authorization objects in your user roles. And sometimes you can have a requirement saying okay for this particular thing you just have a check. So this is how the syntax looks. Authorization check object, the authorization object. Okay. So if there is a these are all the additions for that. So if you want to check for certain particular user or however it is, okay, then the ID. So this IDs will be given by the like what you say the consultant saying okay these values check for. So if the used case scenarios look something like this. Okay, so they have put a authorization check on my at selection screen. So this is a part of my selection screens. Okay, so my authorization object would be this object. So this will be given by the consultant and they'll say check for this fields IDs and the values. That's it. So in this particular scenario it's a standard table called S flight. So what they're doing is this SCAR ID authorization ID they are just checking against these two values. ACTivity is my activity and the value is 3. So these are some definitions on my authorization object side. So I think that is SU21. So this is purely the work from my SAP I mean the security consultants. What I can do is this is general actually. I'll search for my SCAR ID. We'll see whether this exists or not. So scaret is there. Okay, so it is part of my this object pc underscore c. Scaret, if I just click, double click, so this is what I was telling. Okay, so char id as well as my act vt. So these are the two authorization fields they have given. So here, if you see that the documentation, they will use both char id and act vt. Now where this field is coming from? So if I just double click again on this act vt, so act vt, it will give, okay, sorry, I put the wrong one. Display permitted activities. Okay, so the permitted activities are create, change, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2 and 0, 3. So those are the permitted activities. So here what they are checking in the key field is 3, means it is checking for display authorization. Sorry, wrong window. So it says 1 if it is for create and generate, 2. So we have around 13 or 14 such activities. I think maybe in change mode you will be able to see that. So based on that, this will be created by them and we can just use that in my system. Okay, no authorization. Yes, that is on my authorization objects. This is the syntax for that. Fine. Now coming back to my transaction code. Now, okay, the second one is program and selection screen. So it is like a report method of a class. So this is my object oriented context. So if you want to directly call a method in my transaction, this one is used. Transaction with variant. So this is what SE38 report I showed, right? Initially we executed some background jobs with some variant. So there that can be assigned to a transaction directly here. Now transaction with parameters is like, now we have two things, right? Variants and parameters in SE38 report. So for both the things we can use it. So SE38 report I can put in transaction in three different ways. One is in a direct selection screen or running it with a variant or my parameter. So I'll just put it as a dialog transaction. I have created a screen for this, so I'll put it like this. Okay, so now after coming here, we have different options to give how this transaction should run. So I can give a program and screen number, and I can also give authorization object here. Now it's a direct check. So what I'll do is I'll give the same program. I have created this actually, so it will be coming up. It has only one screen, so it defaultly puts my 100 as a value. Okay, standard transaction variant is allowed. Okay, this is for variant. So how is the GUI support? So if you want to put specific for any other GUIs, by default it will be coming for our GUI. Okay, now if you want to put for any HTML or Java or Windows, you can just select Windows because this is for our GUI support. Then transaction classification, it will be generally professional user transaction. Easy web transaction will come into picture when some transactions with third-party portals like HTML5, UI5, they want to access it. At that point of time, we'll just select this. Now I'll just create it, save. This is a transportable object. Okay, so the package, I think we have created a Z demo star. Z demo. Okay, I'll save it. This is also transportable object, so it lasts for a transport. Now it is saved. Okay, we can either directly execute it from here. Sorry, this one. We don't have any selection option, so it doesn't come up. Okay, so if I just add that selection screen, I'll just show. Okay, it's in editing another window. Let me go back. Okay, what I'll do is I'll open the other code. Maybe the selection, these two parameters. Okay, we already have the text for this. Okay, so we'll just see. I'll just activate. the slash and I can use the transport tree code. Okay, still it didn't come up. Not sure what is the problem. Material number, material group. Okay, I think I selected the wrong transaction type. That is why it's not coming. Slash NC93. Change. Okay, it's a screen number. That's why it didn't come. So I have to put it as a selection. So I'll just delete this. Delete. And create it again with selection screen. Okay, now I'll create it again. Now transaction for demo. I'll keep it as it is with selection screen. Okay. So selection screen, the screen number will be default 1000. So that is the default value. So start with variant. So if you have saved any variants, it will come up here. We don't have any variant saved, so it didn't come up. I'll just try saving variant as well. I think we have one sample variant. Then there should be variant management then. So I'll just check why this variant doesn't come up here. Let me see that. I'll just save it. Okay. So transaction I can directly edit from here, test. Okay, some issues are there. So it will come up here. Or directly you can view the transaction code. It will open. And in programmatically also we have a syntax to call a transaction. I'll just, okay. So I'll create another program, SC38. Zdemo app report, Zdemo call transaction. So from one transaction, one program, we can have multiple ways to call it. So we can call another program or another transactions. There are options. Demo for call transactions. Okay. Sorry, enter type is executable program. Okay, here in this program, so in initialization, I'll clear all my variables. Okay, this is just event based. So at start of selection, so even if you put this start of selection or not, by default, your code execution starts at start of selection. I showed that in debug mode, right? Similarly. So at start of selection, I can say call transaction, single quotes, what code you want to call. Simple. Now I'll just activate it. I'll just execute. This should call my other screen. See, this is the previous screen. If you just want to cross check that, you just see. I go to the status. This is my Zdemo ABAP report and selection screen is 1000. So GUI status is temporary number because it is a selection screen. It's a dynamically created. We are not creating the actual screen. So that will be picked from the code. So if you see the transaction code, sorry, the status, if there is something like the program is this one system and that GUI status, you can understand this is a selection screen. This is the default number. Okay, so I think GSC 51 still we cannot cover today. Okay, so that should be for today. Tomorrow we'll start with SC51. One issue, if you have a system access, one thing we'll have to check is in this SC51. Okay, we are facing one issue with the graphical painter. So we'll just see if everyone is facing the same issue. Test. Okay, I'll go to this layout editor and click on change. This is a system issue actually, and so we are just trying to fix it. So we just want to confirm whether it's a local desktop issue or a system issue. So please check this if you are able to access it. it should open a graphical screen painter. Otherwise, it will be a bit difficult for us to understand actually. Let's wait for that execution. Okay, still the issue is there. So this should come up in a graphical painter. So currently it is coming up like this. But this will affect only my screen design. So we'll anyways continue with our logic discussion tomorrow. Okay. So that's it for today. Please check this and let me know, people who have the system access. Huh? Thank you.
Thank you.